What's up, moviegoers and true believers? Welcome to another episode of the Real Comics Podcast. I am your host, Voodoo57. Along with me, as always, is my good friend, Speedy G33. How you doing, Speedy?
Doing great. It's the witching hour.
We are doing a late podcast this evening, and we are also trying to play catch-up. So we're calling this episode Playing Catch-Up. We've got a lot to talk about. We've been away for a little bit. Unfortunately, real life has taken over. I've moved into a new place. As you can see, I'm still unboxing things and actually sitting in a folding chair with my bike behind me and still getting things set up. So that's kind of put our podcast on pause a little bit, but we wanted to keep things going and get caught up on all the things that have been happening. There is a lot going on the small screen, in the news, and definitely coming in the big screen starting next week. It's going to be a big punch in the face as far as comic book movies with, of course, Batman versus Superman. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's get to a little bit of news. Speedy G, I know there's something that you wanted to talk about a little bit about Iron Fist. Why don't you fill us in?
Yeah, well, we were gone. They cast Iron Fist. It's the actor from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Who plays, gosh, I can't remember his name. He's one of the, he's a Tyrell, right?
Right, I believe so.
And I like it. I think he's a good actor. They've had a lot of success with HBO guys coming over there.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm content with it. I'm not one of these people that's upset that they didn't go Asian American or Asian. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about this was an opportunity to go with an Asian. It's not necessary. Get the best actor. I think that's forcing the issue when it doesn't need to be.
So we're talking about, in the comic book, it's a traditional Asian character, and I've read it's not an Asian character. So then why is it?
There was a lot of articles written that they wanted, people were trying to push an agenda to have an Asian or an Asian American character or actor, cast as Iron Fist. And I saw some really nasty articles after they cast the guy that they did, and I just think it's silly. They didn't change an Asian character to a white character. He's always been white, and I don't know. You just get with the best actor. I mean, it could have worked with an Asian American character, but I think you're forcing it. And part of everyone else is pretty much in the cast is going to be Asian, other than his girlfriend. If his girlfriend is going to be on the show, which I'm praying and I'm hoping,
right,
because she is cast in Luke Cage's show. Her name is Misty Knight, and the actress has been cast, and she is showing up on the Luke Cage show. And she ends up being Iron Fist's girlfriend. She's a black woman. So, it's already diverse. This whole universe is diverse anyway. You have Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. We actually have a child together at some point. You have Misty Knight and Iron Fist. I mean, it's a very diverse cast anyway. And I don't know, why jam one in there when you don't have to?
I completely agree. I think there are times when race is important in casting, but I think this just isn't one of those characters. It's not one of those points. Okay. In my mind, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's not one of those iconic characters. Okay. And when I mean iconic, like when we go back and we talk about Johnny Storm, right? Fantastic Four. Yeah. I was okay with the casting there. Yeah, but when you're talking about kind of, something that's out there and in front, I have to admit I was a little bit, why screw with something like that that's so much a part of our lore, and out in the forefront.
You know what, though? I didn't have a problem with the Johnny Storm casting. I don't want to go too much of a segue into the race issue.
Right. Yeah.
Because I felt that particular actor, Michael B. Jordan. Right?
Michael B. Jordan. Yep.
He kind of could play a Johnny Storm, a cocky, a fun, but the writing in the script screwed him. There was nothing. He didn't play that kind of character.
Well, we definitely know he's got acting chops.
Yes,
we definitely know he's got acting chops. That his performance in Creed, that had he been given the right script and the right everything else, who knows what Fantastic Four could have been.
okay with that if they wouldn't have made Sue his adopted white sister. That's where I think that when it all fell to crap.
Right.
If you're
But
gonna
no,
do it, let's just do it and let's make the whole, Storm family black.
right.
Dad, brother, and sister, and let's just do it. But I don't know. That was a weird. That I don't want to talk about Fantastic Four.
No, we don't want to get too far off in race, but I agree with you. I think the acting choice is pretty spot on. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to this role. So
Yeah, I mean, this
definitely.
is gonna be the first one where they're going to really push the envelope on the comic book side of things.
Right.
And what I mean by that is Iron Fist gets a little more into almost that Doctor Strange land where we're going to go into some kind of enchanted supernatural world. And we saw a little taste in it. I don't know if you can recall, but there was an episode in Daredevil season 1.
Spoiler alert.
No, season 1.
I know. Hey, you never know. You never know. People can be playing catch up. But yes.
Where he is going against that older Asian woman. I can't remember. And she uses some kind of mystical powers on him and kind of throws him. With kind of like a force push, I guess, for lack of another better word. Right. And so you've got that first kind of taste that she has some kind of power. And that's kind of going to go into the hand and different things as we continue. There's going to be some mystical powers. So, but it's going to be interesting because so far this whole series, and I'm watching Daredevil right now, is grounded in reality. Right. Even Luke Cage, he's bulletproof, but it's kind of grounded. You don't have the Avengers level stuff.
Very true. Very cool. All right. That sounds good. Yeah, definitely excited to see where that goes. Well, my news of the day happens to be kind of on, the TV side as far as a small trailer being released for pretty much the finale episode of Star Wars Rebels. Now, I have to admit, I haven't been watching a lot of it. I've seen a few episodes, but this little trailer reveals that Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, who was introduced in the Clone Wars and is now an older character in Star Wars Rebels, are going to come to some kind of head. And to me, this almost has the feel of, that Empire Strikes Back moment where, I am your father. They clearly know who each other are. They're clearly bound to face off. And now it's a cliffhanger as to what will happen. Now, I asked you to watch this. I know you're not much into it, but what were your thoughts when you saw this?
It was pretty cool, and I liked kind of the recap that they used footage from the older cartoon when she was little.
Right.
And she was just his young Padawan, and kind of how it grew to the point where they broke apart. I haven't seen the series, so I don't know exactly why they broke apart until finally this confrontation where she's going to have to face her old master, who's now Vader. It's cool. Again, I admit I don't follow the series at all. I like the cartoons. They look cool. It's a little kiddie at times, but I think they're well drawn and well acted overall.
I think what I've loved about the Clone Wars and some of the Rebels stuff, I think the Rebels is definitely, once Disney kind of got a hold of it, it's definitely geared a little bit more towards kids with their characters. But the tradition is still there. The lore is still there. The ins and whys of being a Jedi or where the stormtroopers went, this is all leading into, who knows where, are still there. And there are some episodes, and I stress this, I can't stress this enough. I've even said it on our friends podcast, the Movie Bears podcast, if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, if you can watch a few episodes of the Clone Wars, and you can especially get to that last season where Ahsoka and Anakin are having not necessarily conflict, but she sees something, and I don't want to get into spoilers or anything, but there's something there, and the two of them sense things, and you just got to check it out. You definitely have to check it out. So that's kind of my news for the day.
Crap I have to see that I haven't seen.
This is very true. Again, that's why this is called playing catch up, because I think that's definitely what we're doing. I'm playing catch up on shows and all that other fun stuff. Did you have anything else for news?
Yeah, news. Today, it's been confirmed that Amber Heard is playing Mara, Aquaman's partner, and she will be in the Aquaman movie as well as the Justice League movie.
The Justice League movie. Definitely very cool.
I'm interested from the Aquaman movie because I don't know how much she's going to get in the Justice League movie. She could definitely be a background character without a doubt. Like get a couple of lines and maybe a punch in somewhere. You know what I mean? Because she's
Right.
definitely going to be background. But in Aquaman's action movie, you know, she could get some meat. And if I'm going to balance her and the male actor, Mamona, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
She
Mamona.
definitely has the better chops. She's the better actor, without a doubt. So she's probably going to play a major role of carrying part of that movie, I believe.
No, I totally.
That's a hell of a good-looking cast on her. I mean, she's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, she's definitely got.
I'm not going to be upset about him without his T-shirt.
Yeah, I think I was just going to say that I think the cast is going to get really good. And let's face it, you know, Aquaman isn't exactly the the greatest hero, you know, in comic book lore there necessarily. But I think Mamona's
Rodney Dangerfield of heroes.
I would say that's classic right there. Rodney Dangerfield of superheroes. Yeah, definitely gets no respect. However, I think Mamona has changed that. I think women are going to be excited to see it. I think guys are going to be excited to see it. You know, if we're lucky, the way I put it, you know, maybe we'll get to see the James Bond of the sea. Women want to be with him, and guys want to be like him. That's what I'm hoping for, at the very least.
When you were talking about him, it just hit me that there's an example of, I guess, what the Iron Fist people were asking for. Because the traditional Aquaman is a blonde, blue-eyed guy.
Right.
And they went with a Polynesian character to make it more interesting and diverse. And that's, I guess, that's part of the argument. Some of the people were talking about Iron Fist. Well, then why don't you go with an Asian? No. It could have been interesting. I'm not denying that part. I'm just saying that it's not that big of a deal that they didn't.
Right. Definitely. I think that, you know what, that's a great point. That is a very good point. Definitely a valid point for sure.
But that was kudos to the DC people for kind of looking at it and kind of taking a different view on Aquaman.
Right, for sure. All right, well, let me get to my last little news item here, and it's clearly the news of the day. Let's talk about it. I know you've already got into it a little bit. I haven't had a chance to get into it like you have, but that is Daredevil Season 2. All right, so yeah, tell us a bit, without giving away anything, let me know, kind of what you see, how you're feeling it, how's the tone feel, all that fun stuff.
Well, I've only seen 3 episodes.
Right.
I had a lot to do today. Like we said, this is catch-up time.
Catch-up time.
But I managed to get 3 episodes in, and I'm really digging it. And the funny thing is my Netflix, I don't know why, I went to start watching it, and it started up on the last 2 minutes or so of last season's last episode. So it was kind of perfect to kind of see it kind of flow in. Like it kind of started up with him beating Fisk, and Fisk sitting in the prison and looking at the wall and stuff. And then I go, and it just slid right in perfect. It felt like perfect. So, I don't know if that was dumb luck or maybe Netflix set it up that way and I didn't realize.
No, I think if that's a lead in, that's totally awesome. Now, I haven't necessarily started it completely yet. I want to binge the hell out of it. You know what I mean? Like I said, between my own goings on in real life, I want to take a whole day and try to slam out as much as I can, because that's how much I love it that way, man. I can't.
Because I didn't do that with Jessica Jones. I did that with the first Daredevil, but I didn't do that with Jessica Jones, and I actually enjoyed it more. I took breaks. I binged 5, maybe 6 at the most, and then I stepped away for a good almost 12 hours or so.
Right.
And then watched more the next day. And I think there was so much going on, and it was such an emotional roller coaster that I needed to step away.
See, every time
and then go back and enjoy. So it's that binge watching theory versus week to week theory.
Right.
If you binge watch, you kind of miss things, and stuff happens so fast that you don't have a time to reflect. Believe it or not, I watched up to episode 3, and I could have gone another episode, but I felt it was a perfect place to stop, because episode 3 was fucking amazing. I'm just going to say that now.
Well, see, it just goes to show you the difference between you and I. Let me tell you how so what I do is, especially when I get into a show, I'll start watching it, and depending on how it ends, is how I decide that I can break. If it's going to leave me with a question,
Oh yeah.
I'm not breaking. I can't do it because I'll sit there and I go, I need to know what's next. I need to know what's next. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. A good example of that, and I know it's kind of off topic for us, but it was House of Cards. When I started watching House of Cards, every time it ended with me having to know what was next because it left me with wanting to know what was next. So season 1 of Daredevil did that for me as well. I believe I binged that quite a bit. Jessica Jones, I think I took a couple of breaks, but I still got it done in about 3 days. So yeah, definitely excited to get going.
I mean, there's kind of a little bit, yes, you want to know what's next, but it was there was just so much to digest in that 3rd episode. I mean, there was a lot, and it was really good. And I was like, yeah, this is a perfect time for me to step away. Now, one thing I got to admit, 3 episodes in, and I already miss Benny Ulrich, the reporter. I'm missing him. I'm thinking it was a mistake to kill him. He should be there. And if you've read Daredevil, read Spider-Man, read these street guys, he's just such a fixture. And him not being there as the kind of conduit, is the way they get their info. It's clunky. They're using someone else kind of, but it's not as good.
Right.
He was the natural story progressor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they're going to miss him as the season goes.
You know, I remember having that conversation with you, and you said, I remember in season 1 when we had gotten to that point and we were discussing it, you had said that's kind of it could lead into an issue, or it could be something that we're gonna kind of regret later. And here we are. That's the first thing you said. So clearly that was a point.
I felt myself missing him.
Yeah.
And that's just maybe it's a personal thing, but I felt like that's a little bit of a clunkiness. Like their dealings with, I don't know, the police or trying to find information, you know, they're using other ways to do it. And I think he was always that perfect, you know, they called him, and it was
right.
perfect. I don't know. But yes, I'm digging it. I'll probably watch a couple more tomorrow for sure. Maybe we'll see how far I get. It's hard because I have to stay off the internet so I don't spoil things for myself. But it's really good. And
awesome.
Yeah, Marvel knows what they're doing with that.
Definitely. All right. So let's get on to the next topic here. I'm going to shoot it back over to you. I believe you wanted to talk a little bit about Arrow, at least to this point.
Yeah, just I guess I'm behind still on Legends of Tomorrow, so I can't speak to that. I'm 3 episodes behind. The only reason I'm not behind on Arrow and Flash is because they've been on hiatus. Because we literally caught up this week. We were 1 episode behind on both of them, and they were, you know, the Flash one was a filler, and I'll let you talk about the Flash one. But to me, it felt like a filler episode. The Arrow episode actually was going pretty good, and I was really interested. Vixen was the guest. For those who don't know, Vixen had an animated series on CW Seed, which is a online version of CW that offers shows that are just available online. And it's basically 1 episode of a cartoon. They broke it up into small shorts. You remember back in the day when they broke up those Star Wars cartoons on Cartoon Network?
Right.
Into tiny little pieces every week. That's kind of what they did with this. But altogether, it comes to about an hour, 1 episode. But what was really cool about the cartoon is that the voices were the legitimate voices. It was Grant Gustin. It was Stephen Amell. It was Katie. It was the girl who plays Canary. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But anyway, it was the real actor. So it was neat to have her in there, and it was going really good. I really dug the episode to the end. And Jesus Christ, they did it again. More Oliver Felicity drama, and I'm so done.
They CW'd it up.
That's what ruined last season. Without a doubt, that's what ruined last season. It ruins the season. Either let's hook him up or let's not hook him up and let's be done with it. He's supposed to be with Canary anyway. So let's go. We're back with Canary, and bye-bye. Bye-bye, Oracle wannabe. Bye. So
all right.
I'm upset with Arrow. I don't know if I'm going to go back to it right away or not. So.
I got you. So you think you might let a few episodes slide before you get back into it?
I might.
Catch up on other things?
Yeah, because I got to catch up on a lot. I have behind on Agent Carter big time. And it's our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. already started back, and I haven't finished Agent Carter.
Yep. Well, that's why we're doing this again. Definitely, like I said, real life takes over. And luckily, I thought I was way behind on Flash, and come to find out that to this point, the last episode, it is on hiatus, so I can talk about it a little bit. This last episode of Flash had what's his direct title? The shark
King
character,
Shark.
King Shark. That's it. I could slip in my mind.
He's
It's
a
King
Suicide
Shark
Squad guy.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He is a Suicide Squad member. So they had King Shark. And I actually thought the episode was really good. Now, you mentioned filler. I kind of agree with you as far as that, because they didn't, they were doing the whole, multi-world thing, and they kind of stepped away from it a bit, and came back from it, and stepped away from Zoom. And so I can get where you said, filler. But
guest appearance of Diggle. Yeah, it was kind of. It was a cool filler. Don't get me wrong. He looked wicked.
Very true. That's what I was. Yeah, he looked awesome. And then the fight, the fight between the two characters was actually quite good, because at first, when you see that big King Shark out there and it's talking and it's thinking, you're like, how are these two what's the fight gonna be like? And that's the best thing when you get to characters that you haven't seen on screen before and only in comics. How can they make the fight look similar to what you see between the pages? And I thought they did a pretty damn good job. What do you think?
I think they did too. I think they did a really good job of making him an interesting character with, I know the limits. You're limited. Going back to the Arrow thing, they did a pretty good job with Vixen too, of kind of showing her animal powers, like, 'cause she kind of channels all these powers of animals. And it's hard. It's hard to do that stuff, man. You don't have a big budget on television, and I think King Shark looked pretty damn good. I mean, that's 2 hits in a row. I mean, Grog looked good, and King Shark looks good. So, if the Flash people are doing a good job of giving me comic book world on a budget that I know is not going to be the level of.
Right. You know what? For television, definitely. I was really impressed with Grog. I was impressed.
The Netflix ones are better shows, I would say. But of course, they have some advantages of being on Netflix. But they're not giving me the comic book level stuff that Flash is giving me. No way. Right. Like I said, they're more grounded. Mm-hmm. So it's fights and it's martial arts and that kind of thing. It's brutal and there's some stunts, but there's no super villains. There's no metahuman kind of thing going on in the Netflix thing. So they haven't, Flash is hitting a home run with that, without a doubt.
I would definitely agree. Flash has kept my interest already. It does have its CW moments, but you know what? I don't think they're as heavy as I've seen, at least in the early stuff early on when I started watching Arrow, and then from what you're telling me from this last episode, especially.
Arrow has more of them.
Yeah.
My God. Yeah, I was. My daughters were saying something about, he should go back with Canary. The actress plays Canary, because she's pretty chill. And I go, you're forgetting season 1. And then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, she used to be a pain in the ass psycho the first couple seasons too, about that kind of psycho ex-girlfriend. And then they had a moment with this one too. Another girl shows up, a girl that he had a baby with, and
oh my God! Wait!
Supposedly he had a fling with her while he was dating the one who's Canary, Laurel, and it just was a whole, like, all the girls having little breakdowns. The whole it was.
Are you? This is the same girl, and I don't want to keep extending this too long, but is this the same girl from the crossover episode with Flash?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Remember, there was a crossover, and
she was a one-night stand basically while he was dating Laurel.
Interesting. Yeah. I have to admit, at least in the crossover, I found the moment of him having to deal with her kind of touching.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Not too CW. You know what I mean? Enough emotion in there. So while we're on the subject, and I'd be remiss if we kind of didn't bring it up. I know where we stand on Arrow. I know where we stand on Flash. What are your thoughts on the upcoming crossover between Flash and Supergirl?
I am behind 5 episodes on Supergirl. I kind of lost interest. It hit a bump for me, and I have to force myself to watch it. And really sad, I haven't watched the episode that Lexi Alexander directed, and I really like her fights, the way she films fighting. So I just need to get off my ass and watch it, especially before that crossover. I think the crossover will be good. I always like crossovers, and you saw her right when when he was traveling in
Yep,
time.
I did. I did see when he went back to the other Earth, that she was part of the temporal time tunnel, in an image, and I have to admit, on my end, so that everybody knows, anybody who comes across this and watches this, I am not a Supergirl fan. I have not seen it, but I have to admit, at least because it's a crossover, I am curious to see what they do and how it will look. And let me tell you, when it comes to it, I'm going to give my honest opinion. Unfortunately, I'm part of the bandwagon that feels that, and I don't want to get into it too much, that Supergirl is too, that girl, Zoe Deschanel. It's kind of, it's too much. Had they made it a little bit more serious, and I think it's a little over the top for me, at least. I know that some people enjoy it. I'm not going to knock anybody for enjoying it. I'm just saying, for me, it doesn't work, but I will watch this crossover.
Yeah, we've argued a little about it. I think it's not for us necessarily. It's for a different audience, and that's okay.
And you have daughters, and I think it's perfect. I mean, are they still watching? I mean,
none of us are. It's funny. We all kind of so we hit these bumps because I think we watch too much of these shows.
It could be.
Yeah, we all hit them, and then so we go like on a little break, and we don't watch anything, and we just kind of veg out on other stuff. But when we catch up, we kind of catch up together. So that's the other thing. You got to get everyone together to catch up. That makes it even more difficult. It's like, okay, how many of us can we all be together for 3 hours to at least watch 3 episodes? So, but yeah. Cool. Now, my all-time favorite that you haven't talked about is Lucifer, and I'm caught up on that because Lucifer is awesome.
Okay, so you know what? I'm a few episodes behind, but I have to admit, I saw the first episode on. I kind of touched on it, and I thought, and then I remember telling you, you know what? This show's pretty good. I went ahead and watched the second episode, and I think I saw the third, and then I kind of got hooked, and I told you, and I think did you go back and watch those? Is that how you got into it, or were you watching them from the beginning?
I started live on probably episode 4, so I had to go back and watch the first 3. Because I wasn't
cool. So I get credit. I get credit for you getting into Lucifer.
Yeah, and I was recording it.
Right. Because you were curious.
I was like, I'm going to record this. So I was DVRing it to make sure that I had it for when I decided what to do. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. It makes me laugh. Now, I haven't read the Lucifer comics. That's my one caveat on this. So I don't know if they're like totally going off book and making their own thing. And like real fans might say, well, this ain't anything like what the book is. And they're just it's just Lucifer in name. So I can't tell you that, but I like the show and it makes me laugh. That dude is he's great.
I wish I had the actor's name. He is perfect. And that's what sold me on it in the first place. And you know what? It took me 2 episodes to realize there were comic books. I didn't know. I admit that I did not know that there were Lucifer comic books, and I was a little behind on that respect. But the character,
Vertigo, which is DC in essence.
Yeah. The guy playing Lucifer is dead spot on hilarious. I think if there is a devil, I hope it's him, because if I'm going out, I want to go out laughing at something that he says, because he does an amazing job.
Yeah, it's a good show. I definitely recommend it if you want to laugh. And then, it has enough action and there's enough mystery, and, there's some conflict, in his demon-like bodyguard is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. Well, she's a badass, and he actually says that a couple of times. He warns people, you know what? She's the badass, and that's her job, is to protect him. Yeah, definitely. I love the show. I would recommend it to anybody. It's great. It doesn't have, even though there's some, what would you call it? It's not a love interest, kind of a sexual interest.
Yeah, but it is a love interest. It's got that traditional.
Yeah.
Partners in love, and
I call it partners in innuendo, because there's a lot of that assumption there, and he's pecking at her and she's pecking at him, and it's not dumbed down with CW style talk, which is why I enjoy it.
Network, but you know what? It's like Castle. for example. Think early
Castle.
Castle.
That's a good example. Yeah.
Before they got together and they actually became a couple. Things like that. It has that kind of dynamic that you do with some of those cop shows and stuff like that. So yeah, I think
Definitely.
it's
Definitely worth a
my
watch.
mind.
It's a hit. No, I
We'll see
guarantee.
if
I'm
it
pretty
survives,
sure.
though. I wonder. I don't know anything about its ratings, and I know it's got some backlash, and there's a whole group of Americans that are not going to watch this because that's about the devil.
Because it's about the devil. Yeah, I got it. I can tell you this though. I mean, like I said, like I should probably mention it now. As we're covering these shows, we're just mentioning where we're at this point. We may come back at a later date once their seasons are over and talk more about them.
Yeah, more of a recap about
how the season went. In our minds, that's ahead for us. Anything else for you on the news front?
That's it for news, bro. That's it for TV. I can't think. I'm not watching Gotham. I've just recorded it, and I'm gonna have to make a choice what I'm gonna do. I gave up on Gotham after they killed the Joker character, or the
Right.
pseudo Joker character. Kind of
Right.
pissed me off. And I haven't watched iZombie this year. Just recorded it. Watching Walking Dead, we have to throw that in there.
Yeah, well, if you want to talk about Walking Dead real quick, we can't. I don't want to. I'd rather have a whole episode dedicated to it, but let's touch on it. I mean, I think so far this is probably one of their better seasons. It's been pretty exciting from the get-go. I'd say.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it so far?
Yeah, I'm enjoying Walking Dead. It's intense right now.
Oh God, yeah.
If you know a little about the comics, I haven't read the comics that far either, purposely, because I don't want to spoil it. But I know a little bit, and just because I know a little bit, it's like there's just a sense of dread. It's hard to watch the episode. Not in a bad way. It's just hard to watch it because you just know that bad shit is coming.
Right, and see, but you don't have to read the comics because I feel that. The last couple of episodes, and again, I don't want to recap them now, but the last couple of episodes have had me on the edge of my chair, screaming at the television. Okay, so things are happening, and you can see it could be just getting started, and by started I mean bad. So
I definitely want to do an episode on The Walking Dead at one point. The Walking Dead is such a unique thing that it's hard to like throw it into the mix with these other ones because it's almost. There's two things, The Walking Dead and Star Wars, that are almost their own special thing that you could almost do a show every week on them.
Oh no, I totally agree because we haven't even like I said, there's also
Game of Thrones too. That's
Game of Thrones is where I was going to go, and as far as Walking Dead goes, there's also Fear the Walking Dead, which I also enjoy too. So those will have their own podcasts, I think.
Yeah, and you could talk forever, like I said, just on an episode by episode. It's just such a unique.
Oh God, yeah.
The way people engage in that show from week to week to week.
For sure, we could talk for hours.
And there's nothing else I do that on. Like I told you, I love Flash, but I don't watch it regularly. I take my breaks.
Right. So. For sure. All right. So I think we've gone through our news for now. Let's get to the other news. Let's head to the larger screen, but let's talk smaller scale. So two huge new trailer releases. We'll start with the first one, and that is the new Civil War trailer with the big reveal. So if you haven't seen it, before we get into it, go watch it. Go watch the Civil War trailer and make sure you watch it until the end because we're about to talk about it right now. All right, Speedy G. So the Civil War trailer recently dropped. It might have been a little, I'm like, hey, did you catch it? And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I didn't. It's funny. The reveal was okay. I think they revealed Vision better. That was a better reveal. Yeah. They revealed Vision on for the Age of Ultron. And that's what they've been kind of doing. They've kept him under wraps this time. I don't like the costume. You and I have already talked about it. I don't think the costume is as good as the costume they were using at Sony. I think that was a better Spider-Man costume. Just me.
Right. So let's be clear because you didn't quite say it right away, but you've been warned. We're going to talk about the end of this trailer, and it is Spider-Man who is the big reveal at the end of this trailer. Yeah. So go more into his costume.
I don't know. It didn't look as cool as the ones they've done on the other studios. I think Sony did in both Raimi's version and in the last versions with what's his name, Andrew,
Garfield,
I'm
the actor.
remembering it just looked better. And then it was jolting to hear that voice to hear Spider-Man talk for the first time. And in my mind, I'm already have Garfield's voice kind of that's pre-programmed in there. So to hear
Right.
another voice, it kind of took me out of the moment. So it's going to take me a while to get used to the new guy. And, you know, caveat, Spider-Man's my favorite character. I'm going to be very, very hard on what they decide to do with him. I'm going to nitpick the shit out of that one.
Okay, so
that's going to be my nature.
Well, let me hit you with this because this is kind of been all the talk, and that is the eyes for Spider-Man. Now, I've already told you I'm kind of a fan of it because it reminds me not only of the comic book, the originals that I saw as a kid, but also the cartoon. After you see it, and he makes his comment on his reveal, his eyes, if he squints, the spider eyes actually kind of squint down, and I like it. So tell me what you were thinking about that.
I haven't seen enough of it. I've just seen that little bit, so I don't know if I'm going to like it or if it's going to be annoying. The only problem I'd have is if it becomes too comic-y like Deadpool.
Right.
And why I say that it's bad to be comic-y. Normally, I'm good with comic-y, but they haven't gone that route with anywhere else. For example, Black Panther's eyes are not doing that. And you don't see his eyes. You understand what I mean? His eyes are the gold or the silver, like whatever that's covering his eyes, and they're not moving, they're not blinking. So it's kind of like that in the middle, like, you haven't really done that before with anyone else, and you're doing it with this character. Is it going to look out of place?
Right.
That's my only concern.
Now, we didn't worry about it before, but something I was thinking about the other day when watching it again. I think it, and this is where it could be either really good or really bad, like you're saying. I almost wonder if they're going to use his eyes, because if you watch what he says, how he says it, and when he says it, as a form of expression, like with the eyebrows. So since there are no eyebrows and you can't see his face, and you want to see that he is a kid, I'm wondering if they might use his eyes to convey his expression, which they did do a little bit in Deadpool, not a lot, because you can kind of see Deadpool raise his eyebrows under that mask, but you can't with Spider-Man. So I'm wondering if maybe that's the way they're going to go.
But you can't do that with Black Panther. You're not going to be able to see an expression on him, and you don't see an expression off of Ant-Man's mask.
Right.
We still laughed, and we knew when he was being a smart ass and all that kind of thing too. So I don't know. Again, that's a wait and see. But I don't know if I told you when I first saw it, that was the least important thing to me. It was kind of like, the best part of that trailer was Black Panther, without a doubt. It was the best. He looked awesome.
And watching him in action too.
That I feel that way with Spider-Man, because when I first saw Black Panther, I was kind of iffy. I was like, I kind of like it, not so sure. Now that I've seen him more and more, I've seen him in action, I love the Black Panther look that they're going for. So that's maybe how I feel about Spider-Man in a while. Give it some time, let it grow on me. I don't know how much Spider-Man we're going to get in this movie too, so that's another thing. I've heard rumors that it's very little, so we'll see. But
I hope it's
Black Panther.
I'm hoping it's a little more than a little, but I mean, again, that's just me wishful thinking. I'm still excited for this movie. I said it in our earlier podcast. This is my number one anticipated movie of the year. So, Civil War, I can't wait, man. I can't wait.
I've thought about that. I hope it doesn't let you down. And in the sense,
Me too.
The Captain America movies it's been a small stage in telling a very intimate story. And this time you're not going to get that. It's going to be this giant with so many moving parts and trying to make sure everybody gets their moment, all these heroes and the conflicts. And still, you've got the third act of this movie is going to have nothing to do with Civil War and them fighting each other. It's going to have to do with whatever they're doing with the actual villain of this movie, which we've seen nothing of. Right. So there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot going on. And so I hope what you liked about the Captain America movies is still there, or it doesn't get lost in the whole. This is an Avengers movie in essence. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't see this. I have to admit, right now, I don't see this as Avengers 2.0. Do you know what I mean?
I can see how it could become it, though. I really
right.
can.
No, I definitely agree with you there for sure.
But yeah, it's gonna be good. Again, if you accept that this isn't gonna be Civil War, this isn't the Civil War comics you read. It's gonna have little aspects of it, but it's not Civil War.
Yep, that's for sure.
Unfortunately. So
All right. You want to intro trailer 2?
yeah, the new X-Men trailer. I was surprisingly impressed with parts of it. There were things I liked about it, and I don't like this movie.
Exactly.
I thought that it for first time didn't focus on Jennifer Lawrence, and it focused on the other characters, and it gave them a bit of a moment to shine. Now, I pray that that's not all they have in the whole movie. Like that's their one action scene, which is typical Singer stuff. But it looked good, and the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse looked good. The battles between everybody looked good. Yeah, it might work. And let's be honest, the X-Men are the most interesting when they're fighting each other.
Right.
It just
You know
is.
what?
They are. And they constantly are fighting with each other. And that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a lot of them fighting each other. I didn't dig McAvoy's voiceover, like using the same exact lines of Patrick Stewart. Like if people come to this school, they're going to be in trouble. The lines he said from the second movie
right.
And things like that. That kind of was weak. It's like let's let this be its own thing, and let's not try to rehash what was. Maybe. I mean, it's still. I still don't have. I have low expectations. Let's just say for this movie. So maybe it'll surprise me.
Well, I'm hoping it will too. This is again another point where you and I. This was probably actually of the trailers that have been released my favorite, because much like you, the one area we do agree is that in this X-Men universe, Jennifer Lawrence and Mystique have been used either kind of improperly or just too much to have a star on the screen. Correct? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I get it because she's a star, but
yeah, but she's
playing
not
Mystique, and I want spotlight on Jean Grey. I want spotlight on Storm. I want spotlight on Psylocke.
right.
That's where I want spotlight. I mean,
yeah, and see, that's where I agree with you. The action, like you said, yeah, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, that's great. I'm actually, it's bumped up a little bit. I'm actually kind of itching to see where this is going to go. I do like McAvoy's character. I also like Fassbender as Magneto.
My only issue with Fassbender is I'm praying that this trailer was cut differently than the rest. It was more like in the rest that he's the horseman that does all the talking. Okay.
Right.
Which again is my complaint about Singer movies is it's always back to Magneto. Can you name one of the X-Men movies that Magneto isn't technically the bad guy? I mean, there's another bad guy for part of the movie, but in the end, Magneto ends up being the bad guy.
Right. He's the main instigator.
So again, is he gonna, upstage Apocalypse and be the bad guy again? I'm so tired of Magneto. There's other people, man.
Well, we're gonna have to wait and see where this takes us. That's for sure, man. But I am excited. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see where it gets us from there.
And the other thing, watching Jennifer Lawrence kind of lead the team and tell them they have to be strong. I just think, and I think the person who would have been perfect in that role, instead of her playing that person that pulls these young kids along, would have been Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Right.
Like him saying, "You guys need to buck the hell up, and you guys were going to go and you're going to do it, or we're going to die." You know what I mean? It just would have been really good to have him in that role of like, you guys are going to grow up now and you're going to be X-Men, and that's the way it is. I just think that would have been way better than having a Mystique character.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. Well, all this talk of these two movies has kind of gotten me to thinking of a trailer I saw today, and I'm pretty sure you haven't seen it. But I do want to just talk about it real quick, if you don't mind. Give me a couple minutes. Unless you have. We will discuss, because again, we're doing this on the fly. It's all about catching up, and we're having fun. Basically, this is kind of like, Speedy G33s and Voodoo 57 phone conversations on a daily basis. Have you seen the new Ben-Hur trailer?
No.
Okay, Well, I watched this today, and I'm very much against remakes, especially of classics, unless there's a special reason or something, and those are few and far between. I don't care for them, but I watched it today, and I wanted to just take a couple minutes to say that, I don't know how this movie's going to turn out, and I almost don't care. It's disappointing when you take something that we're not talking about just classic in the normal sense. We're talking about, top movie of all time classic with its characters, Heston and you don't touch stuff like this, and they did. And if you watch the trailer, maybe later on, and maybe you'll have a different opinion when you watch it. It's like Fast and Furious, again, because they got to do that to everything, meets, Ben-Hur, and I couldn't be any more disappointed. And I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't want to end on a bad note. I want to keep things high and spunky and positive, but this was really disappointing. And since we're talking about trailers, I wanted to kick that out there real quick.
I'll give you that because I'm not big on it. Like I don't care how great the trailer looks. I don't care how much people talk about it. I know the cast is great. I will not see the new Magnificent Seven. The original Magnificent Seven is in like my special echelon of movies. That is like, don't touch it, don't mess with it, leave it the hell alone. I don't need a modern version of it. No, I'm not happy about that at all.
Yeah,
they've chosen to remake that. So I get you how you feel about the Ben-Hur one. So.
Yeah, we're purists, man. As a matter of fact, just a quick note: Magnificent Seven is one of my top 5 stranded on a desert island movies. That's what I'm talking about, like for the rest of my life. I mean, you just don't touch some of these movies. And maybe, like I said, I don't know how these movies will end up money-wise and what people will think of them. But when you take something that's been done that actually, these movies transformed Hollywood. They transformed their particular genre. They were made in 70 millimeter on a grand scale, and then you take it and you make them digital and you add effects and you almost dumb them down in a way. Where's the homage? What are you paying tribute to when you're spending money on that stuff? And again, I got to stop.
That original cast was special, and they understood, and they really looked into the original Japanese film that this was based, that Magnificent Seven was based on. It was based
Seven Samurai,
and they looked into it. McQueen and all those guys, they really knew their stuff, and we're talking about guys that went on to become stars forever. Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, Bronson, Colburn. I mean, these are some big time guys, man. And I don't know. You can cast. I know they've got a great cast.
Seriously, yeah. How do you, dude? The original Man's Man, Steve McQueen. How do you? Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't know. Okay. So that's enough of that. I don't want to go down on, but it got me to thinking when we were talking about these movies, how I saw that and I said, really, that one kind of slipped by me, and I hadn't seen any. I remember hearing something, a few months ago, but I let it go because I'm like, they can't really be making Ben-Hur, and you got Morgan Freeman in this thing with dreadlocks and no, just no. All right, let's move on to bigger and better stuff. A real quick talk about Batman versus Superman, shall we?
Next week. I think the most interesting thing, because I've tried to stay out of the reading about that because it's overload right now. It's like, if somebody sneezed, they got to write an article about it. Whoever was caught picking their nose, and that's going to affect what kind of Superman he's going to play or something. You know what I mean? We're at that overload moment with it, so I've stayed away from the stuff. But the big thing you were pointing out to me, and we want to do a show and talk about it, is how they want to do this rated R director's cut.
Yep, it's going to be a rated R director's cut, 3 hours plus.
And I've told you, to me, this is a bad sign for the movie. And I know people don't want to hear it. The fans don't want to hear it. But going back to, I think it was sometime this summer, people saw things for this movie, and they fell in love with the Batman Affleck parts. When I mean people, I mean the studio.
Right.
And so they kind of were more Batman. We want more Batman. We want more Ben Affleck. people that have seen the movie already, whether they're telling the truth or they're not, have also said that Affleck is really shines in the Batman role. My concern is I don't think that there really is an hour of extra rated R shit that he filmed. Like, why would he film it? Why would he say, okay, I'm going to film all this dirty or violent stuff and then hopefully get a director's cut of it? I think that was his original. That's his original footage that got cut out for this new stuff they wanted. So I don't think we're getting his vision.
Vision,
We're
right?
getting a kind of hodgepodge mish, kind of like Fantastic Four. Better done, but kind of like Fantastic Four. And then we're going to get something completely different with the director's cut. And wow, that's your franchise starter? I don't know about that. You know, this
Listen,
movie, I think.
if you have to put out two different movies, what are you trying to say? Okay, and yes, you're right. One of the things we'll talk about here at the end is that we've been planning, and it's evolved. I mean, as much as it's kind of been put off because our lives have kind of taken over, this show that we want to put out for you guys, titled Rated R, is evolving, almost daily, and it's about rated R movies, and it's about stuff like this. It started with Deadpool. He didn't have to put out two versions. People begged for it. There was no need to put out two different types of movie. And now I think they're doing this one just to be, I don't know, how do I put it? Fashionable, rated R fashionable.
See, but that's where I'm disagreeing with you. I don't think so. I think Snyder's using that as an excuse to put out his director's cut. Because if he just said, I want to put out a director's cut,
yeah,
that would send a huge red flag up to the world saying, well, why do you want to put out a director's cut? Are you telling us that the one you're going to show us isn't very good? I mean, that's the way.
That's what it seems like to me. So if he's putting out his, then that means that the regular one isn't his. That's the studio's version, and then the director's cut is his version. I mean, I don't know how to take it.
Yeah, but they're trying to use it under the guise of rated R.
Right.
I think if you're making a rated R movie, you set out to make a rated R movie. David Ayers is not over there saying, well, I'm going to put out a director's rated R cut of Suicide Squad.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's not happening. And if there's a movie that probably could be rated R, you would think it would be Suicide Squad.
You know what really scares me about the Batman Superman thing here? We're going to end up, and even though it's one of my most beloved movies, we're going to end up getting a Ridley Scott version. We're going to get 3 different versions in the next 10 years of Batman versus Superman because there's a new director's cut, an ultimate director's cut, a limited edition director's cut, a special edition director's cut. How many director's cuts are we going to get, man?
Yeah, I have a feeling this movie's going to let me down. I don't know. I'm not. I don't hate on it like I do X-Men, and I'm gonna go watch it opening night. So I'm gonna contribute to that dollar total, which could be a lot of people are. So it's might come across false because people just might look at the numbers because it's a curiosity. Everybody wants to see it. It's something different, but.
Well, at this point, that's how I feel right now. It's a curiosity because this one was at the bottom of my list as far as the movies that we had this year. But now it's kind of grown into a curiosity. And I'll probably, if I'm fortunate, I'd like to see both versions just to see what the hell the difference really is. And so that way I can speak on it.
I watched the director's cut. Now, I haven't seen Rogue Cut for X-Men, for example. I'm not buying it until there's a way I can rent it. There's no way I'm going to see it. But I don't know. If you're doing a rated R movie, you set out to do a rated R movie. Like Deadpool, they set out to do a rated R movie. They don't, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're going to do Old Man Logan rated R, which
I was going to get into that in a second. Yeah, so but see, that seems more logical.
I don't want to give too much of our other, podcasts already, but what does that mean? That just means they're going to be more violent.
Right.
Because none of these people are going to start dropping F-bombs and talking about getting laid and shot in the ass with a bullet and all the crazy things that Deadpool did, all those nasty jokes that Deadpool said.
Hold on. Yeah.
No one's going to say that. I mean, it's not in character for anyone else to talk like that. They don't joke. And if they do, they don't joke at that vulgar level. I told you, I thought in my mind, the only person I could think of that could get to that vulgar level and craziness might be Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
But there's no way Disney would do that with Rocket. There's no way. They have
No.
too much merchandise wrapped up in him and Groot. Have him dropping F-bombs and being like because he can be pretty violent in the comics.
Right.
Yeah. So what are you doing? And being violent just for violence sake it can be dumb. Like again, I've just watched 3 episodes of Daredevil, and there is nothing. There is nothing. Well, maybe Blade. Okay, maybe Blade, but other than that, there is nothing on the big screen that has the fight scenes. I mean, of superhero movies that compare to these Daredevil fight scenes. You thought the ones in the first season were good? I'm only 3 episodes in, and I'm like, holy shit, these fight scenes. That's a reason to give something a rated R.
Right.
If you're going to give me that kind of raid style fight scenes, that's what we're talking about. Something like you would see on.
Well, those guys early on, I thought those guys were involved in some of the early stuff.
They were, and they definitely have influence. But that's rated R.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reason to have that rated R in front of it.
Not just because somebody wants a more. I don't know.
Even Nolan's Batman didn't have the level of fight scenes that we're talking about.
Right.
In this Daredevil show. Not even close. So you have to have a reason for it. Jessica Jones would have been a rated R movie. But it dealt with rape and some pretty, dark topics.
Dark stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know where you're going to go with rated R.
It'll be interesting. And like I said, if you're out there and you're catching this, we definitely have a show that Speedy G has actually set up for us to cover, and we're going to cover a lot of stuff. And it's actually evolved. Like I said, it's actually grown by the week with the new news of new rated R movies. So please look for that in the future. What else do you got, Speedy G? Anything else you want to discuss before we?
I think that's about it. I mean, that covers the major. I kind of scanned the news. I mean, I'm sure there's some small stories we've missed. Someone's been cast that we missed. But,
there's tons of stuff that we could get into, but this was just a basic thing to get us caught back up. And I think we've touched on the major stuff, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we will have more for sure. Next week, I think we're talking. What is that? A big hype for.
We might do some Daredevil talk. By then, we may be a little farther in. Maybe do a review of the first half if we've gone that far.
I'm hoping for like half Daredevil and maybe who knows. Like I said, hype
Batman, Superman.
Yep.
I mean, it'll be, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to our Wednesday schedule, and it'll be the night before we go see it. So we'll see it on Thursday.
That's for sure.
I want to see it right away so it doesn't get spoiled. Maybe getting some specifics about it. Yeah.
I definitely want to do that. Also, we might have next week some Rogue One news. I'm actually going to do some research on it before. That's why I didn't want to bring it up tonight. I found out some information and I want to see how accurate it is before we discuss it. So that's just a little teaser. I'm going to do some investigative work on the interwebs and find out if this stuff that I'm reading is fairly accurate. Because I got to tell you now, here's a teaser. If it's true, this movie needs to be made, and I need to see it. So as the big Star Wars fan, I want to make sure that what we're talking about is actually valid. And I'm hoping some other places, because it's only one person kind of putting this out there right now. And while it looks nice and fancy and all out there as far as to what's going on with Rogue One, and I haven't seen anybody else back it up. So it's making me a little leery. So I'm going to investigate it before we talk about it. But we might want to get into some of that real quick before the other stuff. But definitely Rogue One, Daredevil, and some Batman for everybody next week. All right. Speedy G, anything else, man, before we say goodnight?
No, that's about it. I'm not watching else. Marvel Heroes. It's Daredevil weekend.
That's right.
Kinds of Daredevil.
Speedy G has got me into a new game here, online game here, the Marvel Heroes 2016. I toyed around with it a little bit today. We'll see if I can get into it. Free Daredevil. That's right. Get yourself a free Daredevil.
It's not free. I wish he was free.
It's half price.
There's all kinds of television related stuff related to
the
show. So
that's for sure.
neat.
All right, everybody. Well, I guess it's time to sign off. Speedy G, you want to say goodnight?
Good night. Hopefully we'll have more news soon.
Well, we are going to have it for you hopefully next Wednesday. So everybody, thanks again for joining us. Again, this was just a little catch up. We'll get back to our normal schedule on reviewing movies and everything for the Real Comics podcast. And we'll also keep you informed on the latest info on the small screen, big screen, and pocket screen as much as we possibly can. Thanks for your patience, everybody. And join us again next Wednesday. We're hoping, cross your fingers, next Wednesday we should be good to go. Wednesday, we're going to do it. And then just a real quick reminder, we are going to plan a huge, and you know what, we've already kind of made a little semi-trailer for a huge intro for our Rated R show and what Rated R means to the movies of the future and of the past. So please look for that. So this is Voodoo57 signing off, saying good night. And as always, be your own hero. It's great to be back, guys. We'll see you.
Good night.
Night, guys.